Maybe. Yeah, we're live. Episode 85, 15 more. And we're at 100, my friend. This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan. Sitting on the Iron Throne.
I'm experimenting with, as you can see, the lack of a chroma key. It's certainly easier to deal with the lighting situation, although we had a giant storm here last night, man. So it's nice and overcast. The light is soft. I could probably use it without a problem, but I wanted to see what's up.
Why not? You know, doesn't hurt anything.
I also like people trying to figure out what's in the background. It's kind of like a little game to me now.
Well, I could see that. Have you had a chance to do any some significant riding out there in
riding?
The northern territory of Carolina?
Yeah, man, dude. I've gotten some good routes now. In fact, I just got a new bike.
Oh, all right.
And that's a bike that's set up for gravel racing. So not quite a mountain bike. It is like a road bike geometry with the drop bars, not the flat bars. But it has big tires on it, and it's meant to do gravel racing. So check this out. Because listen, man, I'm getting a little older. I'm starting to get a little bored. It might be a little bit of a midlife crisis, even though I'm not that old yet. But I'm like, dude, I want to compete. But I want to compete like in a safe way, if that makes sense, right? So I'm like, road racing's kind of hard because there's a season for it, and there's only so many races. And anyway, man, I was getting into that in California, and of course here there's no velodrome, so I can't do track anymore like I was doing in California. So I thought, well, what can I do that it's competitive, but it's really a race against you? And so I looked into, for a while now, my holy grail that I need to work towards over a couple of years is there's a race that starts in Canada that goes to Mexico across the Continental Divide.
Nice.
And you're on your fucking own, man. Everything is on your bike or on you. There's no support, and you're on your own, and you race. So that's my ultra goal for what's called ultra endurance cycle racing. So in the midterm, what I'm going to start working on are 50, 100, and 200-mile gravel races. And there's some huge ones like in Indiana, Nebraska. The big one, the Dirty Kansas, is in Kansas. And dude, there's like 2 or 3 races every weekend, almost year-round.
Yeah, because I guess in this case, they don't really care about the weather.
Fuck no. Not one bit. Not one bit. So that's my plan, man. We've actually started talking about getting a camper, so Mrs. and the daughter can come, and we'll turn it into like a little weekend camping trip.
Yeah, right on. There's just, I'll have to send you the link to this one dude who has made, it's relatively inexpensive, but he's made some pretty kick-ass campers. Former NASA engineer.
There you go.
And they look, I mean, it's like completely compartmentalized and things fold down.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty slick, because thinking about doing one.
That's right. So have you noticed how horrible they all look? Like,
oh, yeah.
They're all white or tan with the pastel swishes, and I'm like, what is this bullshit? Marcia started looking at them, and I'm like, nope. Dude, if there was a zombie apocalypse, I wouldn't get in that thing based on how it looks. Screw that. You think I'm going to put that on the back of my Jeep and drive it around? Get out of here. Get out of here.
They're called cricket campers.
Oh, I've heard of those, man. See, I like those teardrop ones too, man.
Yeah, so they have a couple different ones. I gotta see if I can find it, because it's I think it's cricket. Oh no, it's not. That's one of the other ones. I'll have to find it, because I'm like now that is something I could get into. One of them is the brand that they have. One of them, there's a mantis, there's tiger moth.
Mm-hmm.
And they all, I'm trying to think of who's actually done by, though. Maybe it is it. I just went to because I was looking for like ultra light.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm like, look, I'm not looking to go get some, I'm not a chicken farmer, so I have no need for a big ass, F-150 truck. So I'm like, I'm not, I got a little tiny SUV, this little Subaru Crosstrek. I got to have something to hook up to that.
That's right.
I'm probably going to have to go with something else and get at least a V6. The little Crosstrek's a 4-cylinder, but
well, I think my my Jeep Wrangler, which you've been in, I think it's rated to tow up to a ton, 2,200 maybe is its max. Which, I mean, you can haul something rather decent with that. I mean, you're not going to get like a giant, whatever they're called, toy haulers, which I don't understand what that means either. But, and I don't want to, just so we're clear, I do not want to be part of that culture. That's not, those aren't my people, man. I just want to get my bike and I want to go race. Hey, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. The one that's really kind of funny is called the Woolly Bear, because on top of it, it sets up a 2-person tent with a thing to be able to sleep right in it.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, so you're sleeping up on top of the camper.
Right, so right.
The name of the company is Taxa, T-A-X-A.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, that's not bad. I mean, it's like, they have a number of different types, but it's T-A-X-A. Cricket happens to be one of them, and everything is like compartmentalized and stuff slides out. I'm like, all right, I could get into that. And I don't really care about the whole culture aspect. For me, it's how quickly can it get to the point to where I can live off the land. And for me, it's just part, all right, can I go camping? Can I start a fire on my own without, in the aspect of there being lighters, matches, stuff like that? How would I do it?
Right.
I mean, I know conceptually, but.
And so if nobody's ever looked into this, you have, obviously, these things aren't cheap either. I mean, they're fairly significantly priced for what they are, until you sit back and think, okay, if I go X number of times over a season and these things last like a long time, it's actually not that expensive when you amortize it out. And this is a big country, man. I mean, there's a lot of varied terrain that you can go visit and be part of, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of the thing. Like even like some of these things are not that expensive, when you look at it. But you're right. Let's say you were to take the same amount of time and you're going to go stay in a hotel. Average hotel costs are like a Courtyard Marriott. So I'm not staying in a dump.
Right.
So Courtyard Marriott's a 3-star hotel. So average. It doesn't have tons of things. But they're going to still be on average $100 a night. Okay. Well, there's no way for you, to eat food at a Courtyard, so you have to buy food. So your average cost a meal is roughly, for 2 people on average, if there's no booze, it's going to be $25. So now you're talking about your average stay is $175 a day. Cost that out. I mean, a weekend is 3 days.
Right.
So you're talking $450 a weekend. Friday, Saturday, check out Sunday type of thing.
Right. And
if they charge you for the Sunday, I don't remember. Let's say it's $300, or yeah, $300. It's $300. How many weekends do you want to go? What if you say a whole week? I mean, you start doing the math. If the average, I think the average American has like 2 weeks vacation. I think that's what it is.
Something like that.
Let's say 2 weeks vacation. I mean, that's 14 days.
And don't forget, you still got to get to wherever that is. So either you're driving or flying.
Yeah. I mean, so 14 days, if you just took a look at it, if you were to literally, because I don't really feel like doing math this early in the morning. I'm still kind of tired.
You're like at $4,200 minimum, man.
Is it?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, $150 is $2,100.
Yeah. Well, right. And so think about, okay, so I want to go somewhere that's scenic.
Yeah.
Again, you still have to drive or fly.
Right.
So if I'm already driving, why don't I just stay where I want to? And I'm not in this hive of people, which is not why I'm going to where I want to go anyway.
Right. So let's say you took the full 2 weeks. It's basically $3,000 because you're going to fly somewhere. $400 round trip per person. So you're like $3,000. How many other weekend trips are you going to take? Right.
Right.
All of a sudden now you go, in 1 year, it's the same cost.
Mm-hmm.
If you bought a halfway deal, like some of these, I mean, you can get crazy with these campers and stuff. And I'm not talking about going crazy, but you can get a decent camper for $5,000.
Yeah.
So the only thing that sucks about them is that this is the debate that I have all the time. Should I go and buy a cabin and that's on a lake and just go there every single time and have something that I'm paying and the land is mine, or do I do where now I actually have an asset? It's not just straight liability.
We've talked about that.
And I go back and forth. And actually, my answer is I want both.
I was just going to say, well, I'll give you a similar conversation. We're already in the mode now of booking trips to Disney World because, of course, Disneyland's too far away now, right? Disney World, and the flights are cheap. It's like $100.
Oh, yeah.
But, of course, where you get dinged is where you're staying and so forth and so on. We've started to have serious conversations just about buying a condo and looking at it as an investment, because it is, especially in that area. Not in Orlando, but around Orlando. And then just time sharing it out or being it or something. Yeah. And I would look at the cabin the same way, man. We've looked, I want to look in the mountains here. We've looked at properties before in Montana. Why not, man? Why not? There's nothing wrong with having assets.
Not at all. Might as well. It's always something you can sell. It's just not liquid.
Well, sure. Yeah, but that asset also can be used as collateral.
Oh, sure. 100%.
And if nothing else, it's part of an empire that's being built. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all have kids.
And funny enough, speaking of empires, McAfee. Not that he ever really had an empire, but dude, all right, you want to talk about being a part of the security community, and you're going to make something that, all of the people out there that are flocking to cryptocurrency, which I hate even saying that word. I don't know about you, dude, but I don't care about Bitcoin, anything along those lines. It is like buying a painting. You have no idea what that stuff is truly worth because it's not backed by anything except people's perception. So I have zero desire in playing in that world. And the amount of wallets and things like that continue to pop up. I mean, the dude that was one of the co-founders of Wicker is like, hey, I've got an unhackable wallet. I'm like, you know what? Just stop. Yeah. Why anyone would say they have something that's unhackable? If it exists, it's hackable, right? If it exists, there's going to be a flaw. It's only a matter of time. Now, what's worse is when you put out and create a bug bounty program and then you don't honor it. I mean, isn't there supposed to be at least to be honor amongst thieves?
Well, look, man, I mean, yeah, you and I share some strong opinions about bug bounties in principle.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, if you're going to have even a private bug bounty program, let alone a public one, and you're establishing a social contract between you and that community does work essentially for you, to pretend as if it's not true. Now, what fascinates me about this is the psychology, particularly of McAfee, insofar as does he to some point, because now they've backtracked, right? But I don't know that that's sincere. Does he really think it's unhackable and that all that proof of concept that was done, right? And in running the bug bounty program at Silent Circle, I saw an enormous amount of bullshit. Here's how I did it. I mean, just simple lack of even understanding how to articulate a thought, let alone scientific process.
Right.
These people were very thorough in demonstrating it multiple times. So to pretend as if that's not real, or pretend that it's not real just so you don't have to pay. Because I don't know what their funding was. I have no idea. I didn't look into it, and I don't really care.
But McAfee's like an ultra billionaire, right?
Dude, I don't know, man.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so.
I tend to agree, man. I mean, look, Costa Rica is not expensive until you basically drown you and your hookers in cocaine. And then anywhere's expensive. I mean, and just remember, he can't go back to Costa Rica as I understand it. But nonetheless, what I find interesting too, man, is how fast the community, so to speak, has turned on him. When, I mean, he's still involved in Demon Saw, right? And Demon Saw is something that pops up once in a while that it's just like this cult thing, which honestly, I really don't understand why it even exists. I don't know what problem it's trying to solve. And that's how I kind of look at Bitfi or any Bitcoin wallet. I mean, okay, so you have a container that holds data structures.
That's basically all it is, because it's something that the value of it changes constantly.
Right. I mean,
and it's not secured. Right. Here's the thing. This is what people don't, I just don't understand people sometimes. You may not like the US economy. You may not like the British economy or Germany or France or Japan or you name the country. It's backed by something. If my bank account is compromised, guess who's going to give me back my money? The government.
Right.
It's insured. What insurance do you have over Bitcoin or Ethereum? I'm probably not saying it right because I just don't care enough about it.
No, you got it right. You got it right.
There's nothing. There's no guarantee that particular. It's more like a commodity, and I mean you're investing in something. I mean you're investing in an electronic commodity that value is only based on the perception of the community. It's not like gold or cheese, or you name it, frozen orange juice market. It's nothing there. This is what's interesting. This is so super interesting to me, because the security community in general is always talking about ways in terms of reducing risk. What's the highest risk thing they're all putting their stuff into? And it's freaking Bitcoin.
Well,
how are you reducing your risk?
And it's an issue of trust. This is what I don't understand either. Right? People have made analogies to Bitcoin being a new version of the Wild Wild West, a frontier in some sense, right? All right, so man, if you take an early 1800s pioneer settling town, they typically had a bank. And so you trusted that bank with whatever assets you had, and you could trust them because if nothing else, you knew that if that dude running the bank decided to take your stuff and leave, he's a physical person and you could find him because you know him. You know what I mean? He exists, and that existence is a known factor. With Bitcoin, by its very nature, it's anonymous. So in fact, I don't know this to be true, but I have a suspicion that it's true. It seems to me that the bulk of compromises are more related to people that run exchanges just taking all the shit and leaving, or never releasing your funds to you ever, than people actually breaking in and stealing it.
Yeah.
So it's not the Wild Wild West. It's not even close to the same thing. Let alone the fact that it's not backed by any type of legitimate currency
and you have
or standard.
No way of getting it.
You have no recourse. What are you going to do?
And this is what's funny to me. This is the community that's supposed to be reducing risk, yet in their own personal life, they're taking the highest risk with, in many ways, low return.
Right. Well, because it's the promise of a high return. It's a fantasy. You know what I mean?
You would be better off putting your money in the stock market.
I had a friend a few years ago, maybe about a year ago, when Bitcoin was really going up to thousands of dollars, right? Email would be like, hey man, what's this Bitcoin thing? Should I get into it? No, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just, I have people talk about it all the time. They're like, do you have any? I've had some because I had to buy I had to buy stuff that required it for research. And that was it.
For science.
Yeah, it's for science.
Yeah. No, I don't have any, man. And it's not that I wouldn't, but I wouldn't hold Bitcoin because I was looking for some type of capital gain so that I can cash out and get rich quick. I much more, as much as I despise some aspects of the stock market, so to speak, it certainly is more trusted.
And
it's backed by a standard. I mean, you know what you're getting into.
Right. Now, of course, the situation I'm talking about, the conversation I had to have with, the CFO was an interesting one, but I got what I needed to get. But I will say that there is, at least to me, one legitimate use case that I can think of for utilizing something like Bitcoin. And that is, you have people that are also in another country, legitimate family, right? And you need to get money to them. This way you have removed the foreign exchange fees that are on top of that.
Well, and the reporting also, right?
Yeah. Because I'm like, look, if I have family that lives in another country, and I because look, if this person is here, and I know several people that do this, they live here, but their family is in another country. We predominantly make more money in this country than we do in others. So if someone's going to send $100, and $100 is not a lot in this country, but $100 could be someone's monthly salary, and I'm going to send you $100. The last thing I would want is to go, well, I'm sending you 100, but $20 of that's going to that other government. I'm not really interested in giving a government money for the simple fact that I'm trying to help my family. And something that's essentially legal. Like I'm not spending thousands of dollars so they can, to do something in the drug trade or something like that. We're talking about, hey, I'm helping out my family, and I would send you $100 cash in the mail, but we know that is never going to get there. Then 100% of that money is going to someone else. But other than that, I can't think of, a lot of legitimate uses for it. And this is the thing. Like I had to have this conversation at one point. Like, countries, let's say Russia, for example, they're like, well, you don't know what's going to happen, and it's better for me to get 50% of my money than none of my money. And so if I'm looking to run from the government, I'm going to put all my money in Bitcoin and then try to flee. And I'm like, that's a nice thought, except if you're running from the government, they're going to get that money no matter if you put it in Bitcoin or not, because I'm coming after you, and you're fleeing from a nation state that has unlimited funds and resources. And I'm going to catch you, and I'm going to beat you with a hammer until you give me your password to your wallet.
Right.
Pure and simple. At some point, after so many hits to the head and brain fluid starts leaking out your ear, you're going to give me your password.
Well, and so, I don't, in principle, have a problem with cryptocurrency. Yeah. I don't have a problem certainly offering, maybe we can call it a free in the sense that it's open, alternative to, let's say, gold standard cash. I don't have a problem with that. But the notion that, well, the two notions, that the wallets are unhackable, that the exchanges are unhackable or free from corruption because of the humans involved, is just nonsense. And then the second part that I have a problem with is this notion that it's a 21st century get rich scheme.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Well, it is in some ways. It is
Ponzi. It's more Ponzi, right?
Yeah. Sure. Look, man, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but I think my perception, my observation, and it could be wrong, is that way more loss happens because either people that run the exchanges just shut them down and take the money and split, or never give the funds back once it's in the exchange. Then people have hacked in and stolen somebody's cryptocurrency, because there's more than just Bitcoin, right? And look, I don't know that has anything to do with the blockchain technology underlying it. It has to do with the implementation of things like wallet technology. And I don't know why anybody would ever use the unhackability as a marketing point. That just to me seems
But dude,
immature.
it's government grade security.
Military level encryption. Hey, maybe that's true. Maybe the encryption itself is fine. But how did you bake those cookies, son? Oh, and of course, so then our opinions of bug bounties. Look, I don't have a problem with it, but you got to understand what you're getting yourself into.
There are always going to be people looking to try to get a free buck, right? And I got it set up at Silent Circle and Black Phone, and it worked out quite well.
Yeah, we had a great time with it. There was some bullshit once in a while, but that doesn't mean in principle it's bad, and it doesn't mean in practice it's bad. You just have to understand what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, Bitcoin, going back to that, is kind of like socialism. Sounds good.
I don't know, man. Maybe that is the future of currency exchange. Maybe not it itself, but it is a prototype of. Yeah, again, I don't have a problem with it, but what corrupts it obviously are people, and part of what corrupts that is greed.
This is what's interesting to me about it. You've got two different dynamics that are going on with currency exchange. Let's say three. Cash, Bitcoin, and then peer-to-peer. All right. Zelle, Pop Money, Venmo. You send something Venmo or Zelle, it's gone. You're not getting it back. That's like the highest risk, because if you accidentally put it into the wrong thing, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the cryptocurrency where you don't necessarily know who it is you're sending it to. And it's also not necessarily gone, but what you may have had $1 million in Bitcoin, and tomorrow you've got $1,000 in Bitcoin.
Well, it's super volatile, man. I mean, the thing is no matter what, like, I don't do any kind of day trading or anything like that, even though I've fantasized about it sometimes. I just don't know that I'm interested enough to put the time in to learn how to do it properly. But I manage my own portfolio in an index, and fuck, man, for 30 minutes every 6 months or an hour a year, I know I'm getting 8 to 10% on average year after year. You know what I mean? And that's just basic funds. That's basic indexes. Well, okay, but all I want to do is have money for retirement, man. I just want my money to work for me rather than just sit around doing nothing.
Right. Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem certainly with that. But man, I've never, and maybe this is just me, I'm the same way with gambling. I just don't need to take that big risk either to feel good, like the rush of it, or because I feel like I need this money now in some, 100% gain.
People do it though, and I don't quite understand it as well. I mean,
more power to them, man. More power to them. I mean, I know people, not necessarily really well personally, but I know people that have done, let's say, reasonably well trading cryptocurrency. Go ahead, man.
Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to begrudge you that. It's just, I also don't want to hear you cry, and I don't want John McAfee coming out and saying that's fake. It's fake news, man. You didn't hack my product. Well, listen, man, I watched those videos, and that was pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Pay the people. What are you doing, man?
He ain't got no money.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Doesn't have anything.
See, and that's what kind of bugs me. This goes back to what we were talking about DEF CON, man. I didn't think about this until you just said it. That's kind of what's starting to bug me about this community is it's slowly become less about trust and respect based on competence. And it's much more right now. I think it's a growing pain, hopefully, but it seems to be much more now based on popularity, not competence.
Yeah. And that might be true. I don't know. I look at it at this. I have yet to see the community do something to help others in the community when it's needed.
That's right. Well, they don't even help themselves, really.
Yeah. And this is just where I go back, you know what? I'm just I'm just not interested in that anymore. I'm interested in building business, protecting business. That's, building a real community that has more than just people who might look like me, think like me, talk like me, or at least in similar ways. That's not a community. That's a cult.
And it's a cult of personality for sure.
Yeah. And I just don't, when people want to talk about diversity and inclusion and what they mean, and when most people talk about that, they're talking about how that they're a minority and they're not getting paid like everyone else. They should go back and look at, like, Accenture put out a really good study on this. Diversity and inclusion is about everyone that is in the room, that everyone's voice is heard, not just one type of individual. They don't want to recognize that. And, I have seen it where people are truly not included. But here's the thing, if you're in a Midwest town and you're in a particular type of area, the chances of you getting someone that is a minority of any type is small, because the population set doesn't exist for it. So I think that the security community is probably the worst. That's not even a community. It's more of a cult in this sense. Sure. Now, there are the exceptions. I'm not saying that everyone is like that, but it seems to be getting more and more like that. And it's not something I want to be a part of.
Well, and in particular, why I'm averse to it now is because it's not even the people anymore. It's the culture that entity has in and of itself. Yeah. Right? Like DEF CON has its culture that is DEF CON, and it's grown to be independent of the people that are there running it or leading it or whatever, right? It has nothing to do with them. They come and go. But the culture that it's erected itself is what I'm averse to at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, man, I'd rather go to a university hackathon where everybody is there with the express purpose of, within a time frame, so it's bounded like a conference, you're going to sit down either by yourself or in a team and collaborate to produce a product that solves a problem that society has. And you know what? And you're going to try and turn it into a business. Good. Yep. Our culture worships monetization. So why shouldn't you get paid for your skills and your labor? I have no problem with that.
Absolutely. And at
the same time, you're trying to pursue some higher truth. I'm definitely on board with that. And I think that's what these things, even like Bitcoin, has lost sight of, right? Because that culture of cryptocurrency trading has its own culture that is independent of the people.
Also true. And this is what's funny about this, something like DEF CON. Person started DEF CON, same person started Black Hat. They want to talk about, there's no corporate stuff going on at DEF CON. Guess who's making money off all those people going to DEF CON? It's all about money.
Sure it is.
Whether you like it or not.
And you and I both don't have a problem with it. Let's be honest about it. Let's be transparent. And you know what? Why don't we start building more co-op models, man?
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more that's the way to go.
I don't know if it is or not, but right now for me, I don't have to co-op if I can do everything myself.
Well, you've co-opted with yourself, I would argue. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. Certainly, man, the more I think about it as I'm working through some of these existential issues I have, the answer for me is just to do it myself.
Yep.
Not because I don't like people. I love talking to people. I really do, for limited amounts of time.
Yeah. No, I really don't like people. So
I just really enjoy the challenge of doing it myself.
Yes.
Which is why I got that bike, because I want to get on that thing and I want to race myself for 200 miles. Because, dude, just finishing is the race. I don't have any illusion that I'm going to win. I want to. But, dude, the first victory is just riding and finishing. That's an enormous distance, man.
200 miles is a lot.
Yes. You'll be on that bike for 12, 14 hours probably. And again, man, there's no help. Once you start, you're on your own. The only time you get help is when you quit or finish. That's it.
Yep. True. And in both those is a finish.
Well, yeah, just not the desirable one, man.
Right.
But shit, it might happen. That's the risk. And that's what I like about this purity and idea of entrepreneurship and business. You put stake into the game and you commit to it and you take it to its logical conclusion. And maybe it's failure. Maybe it is.
But you draw a line in the sand.
But at least you showed up.
Yeah, you showed up, you put a line in the sand, and you went out there and gave an effort.
That's right.
So, well, I think it's a wrap.
I was going to say, and you didn't pretend that it was unhackable.
Yeah.
Dude, the psychology of that, I've never really, you and I went to that party to meet, not to meet, but to see the spectacle of McAfee at Demon Soul a couple years ago. And I've never had an inkling to sit down and talk to the guy. Now I do, because I really want to try and understand the phenomenology of what was going through his mind when either he was pretending that it really wasn't hackable. When, remember, he's the one that just took that phone apart on CNN or wherever when the FBI and all that bullshit was going on with Apple. Or if he was just deluded enough to not want to pay the bug bounty for whatever reason.
Probably both. But I mean, that cat was just 4 months ago saying, "My enemies have failed again. They tried to poison me."
Yeah. Dude, I just don't want to end up like that, man.
Oh, I won't. There's no way. Because I'll remove myself from the environment. Like, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason. Like, I'm trying to disconnect more and more.
Pivot.
Yep.
Cool, man. That's episode 85. 15 more and we'll be at 100.
That's right. That's right. All right.
All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. Have a good holiday.
Yep. Yep. And on Thursday, I won't be there again. Got off-site. So I'll see you next Sunday.
Yeah. Ken and I will do one on Thursday.
Awesome.
Sweet. Later, everybody.
Peace.